Hello, you are most welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Understanding Spirit of Anatomy on Tuesday Night Anatomy with Daniel Okwan. Today's section is going to be a quick revision on one of the special type of connective tissues we have in the human body, being the cartilage. So please, if you've not watched the video on cartilages, please get that video link and then watch it. I'm going to do this revision with you through some questions that I've set for you. I'm going to help you get the correct answers, and those which are incorrect, yes, we justify why they are not correct. And so, without much ado, let's set the ball rolling. And we begin this revision with question number 1. And question number 1 says, which of the following is false about Halin Colleges? Now, option A says it is the commonest cartilage type and distributed in the fetus, costal cartilages, nasal septum, alar cartilages of nose, tracheal rings, epiphyseal plates, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and base of arytenoid cartilages. Yeah, that's a very true statement. We get to know that yes, the commonest type of connective tissue is actually the Halin Colleges. Although we have 3 kinds, yes, including of course, the elastic and the fibrocartilage. Actually, the commonest is what we call the Halin Colleges, having a wide distribution in these areas that we mentioned. So that's a true statement. Now, option B says, although articular cartilages are of Halin type, they lack perichondrium. Yeah, that's a very true statement. Now, the reason why we are considering this Halin cartilage, this cartilage actually to be a special type of cartilage, is that yes, it is actually lacking blood vessels. Neither is it also having nerve supply. So it's actually avascular. We said that yes, connective tissues are supposed to have blood vessels, but cartilages are avascular. They also do not have nerve supply, and that is why yes, most cartilages, including Halin cartilage and elastic cartilage, they will be endowed with what we call perichondrium. So that yes, perichondrium is actually made of dense, irregular connective tissue, so that it will give it some kind of nourishment. But another type of this kind of Halin cartilage find itself in the ends of long bones, and therefore we call them articular cartilages. Those ones are also devoid of perichondrium. So perichondrium, we don't find it in fibrocartilage, neither do we find it in articular cartilage. Although articular cartilage is a type of Halin cartilage, and we expect that it should have perichondrium, but it is devoid of it. So this is also a very true statement. Option B is also a true statement. Now, option C says it serves as model for endochondral ossification of most long bones. That's consistent with the fact that it calcifies with age. Now, this is actually where the problem is. Yes, it's indeed going to serve as a model or template for, endochondral bone formation. We have 2 kinds of bone formation: intramembranous from scratch, and of course, endochondral using cartilage model. Actually, using Halin cartilage model. Yes, so that was no problem of these long bones. But one thing that we have to know is that it doesn't necessarily, as you age, you won't calcify with age. Otherwise, all these Halin cartilages that we have in the human body will be, calcifying as we age, Yes, but sometimes if there's injury, if the cartilage gets injured, sometimes as it forms back, there's some kind of bony elements in there, so it doesn't really calcify with age. So with this option, we've seen our correct answer. That is option C. But let's go on. Option D says it presents with cell nests or isogenous groups having a territorial matrix to be less basophilic than the interterritorial matrix. Yeah, this is also a wrong statement, and therefore one of the correct answers too. So this one we have option C and of course option D, because the reason is that yes, although they will present with cell nests or isogenous groups, no problem. Halin cartilages characteristic having of course territorial matrix and interterritorial matrix. What is happening is that the territorial matrix is more basophilic than the interterritorial matrix. I will show you that. So it means that this option C and of course option D are wrong statement, and for that matter they are the correct answers. Now let's look at option E, and option E says although has collagen type 6, type 9, type 10, and type 11, its predominant fiber type being collagen type 2 has the same refractive index as the ground substance. Yeah, that's a very true statement. Yes, I mean, we will get to know that cartilages generally, whether being Halin cartilage, being Fibrocartilage, being elastic cartilage, as far as collagen type is concerned, you'll be endowed with collagen type 2. But in addition to having collagen type 2, Halin Colleges is also having collagen type 6, type 9, type 10, and of course type 11. But the surprising thing is that the abundant type, being collagen type 2, is having the same refractive index as the ground substance. And that is why, yes, we tend to see that we don't see the fibers much. Having that kind of glassy appearance, we don't tend to see the fibers in Halin Colleges. So let's justify these options. So there we are. I mean, Halin Colleges find itself having a vast, distribution. Find itself in what we call the costal cartilages. I mean, the cartilages which will link the anterior aspect of these ribs to, of course, the sternum, costal cartilages. Apart from that, in areas where we have the joints. So, for instance, I mean, around this joint area, the ends of these long bones, these are the articular, cartilages. And as you said, that articular cartilages will be devoid of perichondrium. So it means that because they are associated with synovial, joints, the synovial fluid in here will give it some kind of nourishment via diffusion. Not only do we have it in such areas, but also in what we call the epiphyseal plates of what we call these long bones. Yes, so that the bone can increase in length. Okay, elongation of these long bones. Yes, epiphyseal plate is also made up of what we call Halin Colleges. So yes, I mean, other areas that we tend to see will be, of course, we have what we call the nasal septum. Nasal septum is made up of what we call Halin Colleges. Also the alar cartilages, the nose, the flanking aspect of the nose. Yes, I mean, we also have the alar cartilages also made up of Halin Colleges. Okay, so these are some areas. Then not only that, yes, we will see some cartilages as well in the airway. Talk about the most cartilages of the trachea, of the larynx. I'm going to show you that the tracheal rings, the bronchi, the plate of bronchi. Yes, all these ones we are going to have what we call Halin Colleges. Even in the fetus, most of the skeletal tissue of the fetus is actually made up of Halin Colleges. But one thing that you have to know is that Halin Colleges will be endowed, okay, with what we call perichondrium. Okay, it will be endowed with what we call perichondrium, and that is dense irregular connective tissue. I will show you that and we will look at it. Okay, but in the case of articular cartilages, the cartilages which find themselves at the ends of these, long bones, yes, they are devoid of what we call, perichondrium. So as you can see again, the elastic cartilage is also having perichondrium, but fibrocartilage, yes, it blends with the surrounding connective tissue. It is lacking perichondrium. So we will see that. So justifying it histologically, we said that yes, Halin Colleges, okay, you see this is the perichondrium of dense, irregular connective tissue. It's going to have two layers. Actually, I'll show you that. It will have an inner chondrogenic layer or inner cellular layer and an outer fibrous layer. You will see those ones. And then what we are saying is that within the substance of the cartilage, we are going to see, the chondrocytes line themselves in lacunae. But what is happening is that you may see about 2 or 3 chondrocytes lying in what we call a single lacuna. So they form something we call cell nests. So you can see a lot of them put together, about 2 trays to put together. So these ones are the cell nests, or what we call isogenous groups. Okay, so that is what we are going to see. Now, one thing again that we see is that you see that we have 2 matrices that we can identify. That matrix where is immediately closer to where these lacunae are, or where these chondrocytes are, is quite deeply stained, or it's more basophilic compared to the areas which we are moving away from these lacunae. Okay, so this area where is quite basophilic is what we call the territorial matrix. Deeply stained area is the territorial matrix, and then this area in between the lacunae is what we are calling the interterritorial matrix, which is of course less basophilic. Now, one thing that we said is that although yes, we know that we are going to have type 2 collagen, yes, this type 2 collagen is having the same refractive index as the ground substance, and that is why the ground substance or the extracellular matrix of this kind of Halin Colleges appears glassy, or is relatively featureless compared to the other cartilage types. Okay, because although it will have type 6, it will have type 9, type 10, and type 11 cartilage types. What's the name? Collagen types. What is happening is that those ones are not, abundant enough so that it produces that marked effect over here. So that is, one thing that, we have to know. Yes, we've said the area that they are distributed, but one thing that you have to know, because we have it more in the fetal skeleton, yes, as the fetus, the newborn, and of course, as growth takes place, what will happen is that most of these, cartilages, okay, especially in long bones, will be converted to bone. Therefore, Halin Colleges is serving as a model or template for what we call endochondral bone formation, especially in long bones, most of these long bones. So we go to question number 2, and question number 2 says, which of the following is not true about elastic cartilage? Now, option A says, although avascular, it is endowed with perichondrium to give it some nourishment. Yes, that's a very true statement. Yes, we get to know that actually the outer fibrous layer of the perichondrium will give it this kind of nourishment. So that's a true statement. Option B says it is involved in the formation of secondary cartilaginous joint or symphysis. Yeah, this is where the problem is. No, it is actually, we have, this kind of cartilaginous joint. We have the primary cartilaginous joint or the synchondrosis type of joint. And of course, we also have the symphysis type of joint being the secondary cartilaginous joint. The secondary cartilaginous joint is actually coming from what we call this kind of fibrocartilage and not elastic cartilage. The primary one will also be coming from what we call elastic cartilage. Will be coming from Halin Colleges. So it means that elastic cartilage has no role to play as far as the types of cartilaginous joints are concerned. Primary cartilaginous joint, Halin Colleges is involved, and of course secondary cartilaginous joint, it is fibrocartilage who is involved. So already we've seen our correct answer, that's option B. But let's move on to justify the rest. Option C says this tissue confers elasticity or flexibility to organs. Yes, that's a very true statement. Yes, helping in that kind of record, making it flexible, pliable actually. So that's a true statement. Option D says, under hematoxylin and eosin, the fibers are not readily visible. Thus, for better visualization or seeing, or Wegett's elastic stain can be used. Yeah, that's a very true statement. We have to go through special staining so that you'll be able to visualize these ones. Yes, because of course elastin, yes, we may not be able to see it very well under H&E staining unless you use special stains like Osin or Wegett's, elastic stain. So option E says it is distributed in the pinna, so pinna of the ear actually, eustachian tube of the ear actually. Yes, epiglottis, corniculate, cuneiform, and apical portions of arytenoid cartilages of the larynx. Yeah, these are areas that we are going to find them. Now, anytime you think of elastic cartilage, think about apparatus of the ear. Okay, anything related to the ear, like the pinna, of the ear. Talk about the eustachian tube of the ear. Okay, think of the ear. Okay, talk about the external acoustic meatus of the ear. Okay, then of course think of the epiglottis of the larynx and the other cartilages. Now in the larynx, we get to know that we have two groups of cartilages that we are going to find there. You either find elastic cartilage or Halin Colleges. So these are the things that you should know. Then of course, as far as even the larynx is concerned, if you talk about arytenoid cartilage, the base of the arytenoid cartilage is actually made up of Halin Colleges, but the apical portion is made up of elastic cartilage. So let's justify these ones. So there we are, talking about it. Yes, we can see that this is a chondrocyte which was actually formed from chondroblasts. Okay, after making this SSLA matrix getting trapped within its own matrix, forming this kind of lacunae, lying in this kind of lacuna. Okay, these are the chondrocytes, so you can see them. Then one other thing too that we find is that yes, and if you stain with, of course, a special stain, elastin stain, such as Osin or Wegett's, elastic stain, then what happens is that we can see these kind of, small fibers over here, which are quite irregular, okay, which you see them over here. These are the elastic, fibers. These are the elastic fibers. We said that it's a fresh section. Yes, we are going to see that kind of yellowish, appearance, and that is why sometimes we want to usually use the word yellowish elastic, cartilage. Okay, so that is what we find. But the fibrous type is actually, or the white type is actually the fibrocartilage. Okay, get to know that. So that is what we find. But indeed, we also find collagen type 2 there. But because we use this kind of special stain, we are not going to see that one here. So areas that we distribute, we can find, yes, we said the pinna of the ear, of course, the epiglottis. Then even apart from that, what is going to happen is that if this kind of cartilage is present, it's going to confer this kind of elasticity. And we've already said that it will be endowed, although it's avascular, it will be endowed with what we call perichondrium, so that through the outer fibrous layer of the perichondrium, it will get some kind of nourishment. So other areas that we find now, so I said this is actually trying to show you the skeleton of the larynx. So that's the voice box, and showing you this area. Now this is what we call the thyroid cartilage. Now apart from the thyroid cartilage, the cricoid cartilage, okay, so thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, okay, and of course the base, okay, those things which are sitting on top of this kind of cricoid cartilage, okay, posteriorly, is what we are finding. These are known as what we call the arytenoid cartilages of the larynx. The arytenoid cartilages of the larynx, the basis, okay, and that's why I say that bad company corrupt good manners, because the arytenoid cartilage is sitting on Halin Colleges, which is cricoid cartilage. The base is made up of Halin Colleges, but the apical portion is made up of elastic cartilage. Just like, of course, the corniculate cartilage and, of course, the cuneiform cartilage, which lies in the quadrangular membrane. Yes, they are also made up of elastic cartilage, together with this epiglottis, because you know that epiglottis is supposed to be elastic, so that, of course, it can flap to close the airway, so that food particles may not enter as you swallow, okay, food. So in another view, you can see them, okay. So epiglottis made up of elastic cartilage, okay. The apical portion of arytenoid cartilage, elastic cartilage, of course, talk about the corniculate cartilage, and then the cuneiform cartilage, which lies in the quadrangular membrane. Yes, all of them are made up of elastic cartilage. But if you talk about the thyroid cartilage, the cricoid cartilage, and the base of the arytenoid cartilage, they are made up of elastic cartilage. So please get to know some of these ones. So having seen this, then let's look at some kind of distinction between this kind of elastic cartilage and Halin Colleges. So with respect to the definition, what we are saying is that yes, elastic cartilage, as I said, fresh section, they are yellowish, but the Halin Colleges will appear glassy. Okay, then yes, Halin Colleges is more common compared to elastic cartilage, and as I indicated, yes, that kind of a yellowish appearance in elastic cartilage, and of course glassy appearance in the case of Halin Colleges. Yes, areas that we've distributed them, yes, mainly in the ear, okay, external acoustic meatus, talk about external auditory meatus, yes, talk about the pinna of the ear, talk about, of course, eustachian tube, okay, of the ear. Then things which are related to the nose, like nasal septum, ala cartilage of nose, okay, talk about most tracheal rings, the plates of cartilages on the bronchi. Yes, all these areas you will find that kind of Halin Colleges. Okay, then elastic cartilage, because of the elastic fibers, quite flexible compared to the Halin Colleges. Okay, so that is one thing that we find. And of course, talking about another fiber type that we find, okay, in elastic cartilage, having more elastic fibers compared to that of Halin Colleges. So let's go to question number 3, and question number 3 says, which of the following is not correct regarding fibrocartilage? Yes, option A says there is linearly oriented chondrocytes and the least occurring cartilage type. Yes, that's a very true statement. Although yes, some books will also say that it's actually the elastic cartilage which is actually the least occurring, but actually it's the fibrocartilage, okay, which is least occurring. Although yes, there's that kind of controversy. So regarding this, yes, it's actually correct. Now option B says it can be seen in menisci of the knee, triangular fibrocartilaginous complex, TFCC, or articular disc of wrist joints, and are frequently seen in the midline of the body, including pubic symphysis and annulus fibrosis of the intervertebral disc. Yeah, that's a very true statement. Yes, we are going to find it in these areas. Talk about the menisci of the knee, talk about the triangular fibrocartilaginous complex of the wrist joint, talk about areas in the midline, okay, symphysis menti, pubic symphysis, annular fibrosis of intervertebral disc. Yes, these are areas that are going to find what you call this fibrocartilage or the white, elastic cartilage. Now, option C says, apart from type 2, it also has type 1 collagen in its extracellular matrix. That's a very true statement. This is the only cartilage type which has type 1 collagen. That is fibrocartilage. Okay, fibrocartilage. But we said that type 2 will have the same refractive index, almost the same refractive index as the ground substance. And so it means that in fibrocartilage, the main fiber type you'll be seeing will be the type 1. Okay. Now, option D says, although closely resembles dense regular connective tissue, the presence of chondrocytes dwelling in lacunae makes it a cartilage. That's a very true statement. It closely resembles and of course blends with the fibrous tissue that is around it. So you might think it is a dense regular connective tissue that you are seeing, but no. Once you can see chondrocytes lying in lacunae in a row, okay, or linearly, then what is happening is that you know that you are looking at fibrocartilage. Now, option E says this cartilage lacks perichondrium, just like articular cartilages of long bones. Yes, this is a very true statement. I mean, it's going to lack what we call a perichondrium. So as far as this question is concerned, yes, none of them is wrong. So let's justify these ones. So there we are. As you can see, this section, you can see these are, collagenic fibers, yes, running, parallel to one another. And so you see that the fibers are running regularly. Okay, they are densely packed. But what you find is that you see that these, there are some linearly arranged cells, okay, that they are disposed in there. But what is happening is that they are lying in lacunae. And therefore, once you can see that, yes, you know that you are looking at what we call, fibrous connective tissue or fibrocartilage actually. And because it's going to blend with the remaining fibrous tissue, yes, connective tissue around it, through some kind of diffusion, it will get that kind of nourishment. And these ones also, because they lack perichondrium, what is happening is that, yes, those ones which are related or which are associated with, synovial joints, okay, talk about the menisci of the knee, talk about the TFCC, the triangular fibrocartilaginous complex of the ridge joint. Okay, if you are seeing such areas, then what is happening is that, through some kind of diffusion from the synovial fluid, it will get some kind of nourishment there. Now remember, because of how compact the fibers are packed, it is actually the toughest, type of, cartilage that we have. So having seen that, then let's look at it. How do we distinguish this kind of fibrocartilage, from Halin Colleges? We've already looked at the distinction between Halin Colleges and of course, elastic cartilage. So let's look at this distinction. Now the first one is that, yes, fibrocartilage, okay, is quite thick, as we said, parallel fiber, so it's actually toughest, okay, compared to that of Halin Colleges. Then again, in terms of looking at the population of the chondrocytes, okay, you can see that collagen fibers, we have more, okay, in the fibrocartilage compared to that of course, Halin Colleges, as we saw. And for fibrocartilage to contain both type 1 and type 2 collagen fibers. But in the case of Halin Colleges, yes, apart from containing type 2, it also contains type 6, type 9, type 10, and of course type 11 fibers, although in small quantities. But in terms of chondrocytes, you can see that you saw that the chondrocytes in the case of fibrocartilage, they are fewer compared to that of, Halin Colleges. Then, of course, for fibrocartilage, it's actually white. Okay, so they've changed it. So this is supposed to be here. The fibrocartilage is actually whitish in appearance because that's why you also call it, white, elastic cartilage. And then, of course, if you look at that of the in the case of Halin Colleges, it has a glassy, appearance. In the case of fibrocartilage, lacking a perichondrium, Halin Colleges having a perichondrium, except in articular cartilages. Okay, and we said that they are distributed usually in the midline in case of fibrocartilage, and we've seen the areas where Halin Colleges will be distributed. Okay, and one thing that you have to know, yes, again, is that, yes, fibrocartilage attaches bones to other, bones. Okay, and provides restricted mobility, to said joints. But in the case of Halin Colleges, yes, facilitates smooth and lubricated movement at, joints. Okay, so that is, I mean, some kind of distinction between Fibrocartilage and Halin Colleges. So having seen these three kinds of cartilages, you've seen Halin Colleges, you've seen elastic cartilage, you've seen Fibrocartilage. Then what is some kind of, let's do some small comparison over here. Yes, if you look at the extracellular matrix in the case of Halin Colleges, it will have, of course, collagen type 2 mainly. Apart from that, it will have, type 6, type 9, type 10, of course, type 11. But one thing that, again, we find is that all of them will have what you call sulfated proteoglycans. And the sulfated proteoglycans are what we call the aggregants. Talk about chondroitin sulfate, dermatan sulfate. Okay, these, I mean, keratan sulfate. These are what we call the chondroit aggregants, or the sulfated proteoglycans. Okay, that's what we see. In the case of elastic cartilage, yes, it will have type 2, and of course, elastic fibers will also be there. Then Fibrocartilage, apart from having type 2 collagen, it will also have type 1 collagen fibers. Then in terms of cells, yes, I mean, we are going to see, of course, chondrocytes, chondroblasts. I mean, we're also going to see, okay, in the case, yes, we are going to see all these ones here. But if you are looking at it, because we are having more fibers over there, we are going to, in the case of Fibrocartilage, mainly we are going to see more of the chondrocytes compared to chondroblasts. Okay, but in the case of elastic and of course Halin Colleges, you are going to see as well, I mean, significant quantities of what chondroblasts, especially in what we call the perichondrium. Okay, in the chondrogenic layer of what we call the perichondrium. Then in the case of, I mean, organization of the cells, in the case of Halin Colleges, we may see isolated ones as well as, of course, I mean, isogenous groups, or the cell nest will also be present. Apart from that, in the case of elastic cartilage, you may see, I mean, the isolated ones. Apart from that, you may also see, I mean, you may see the discrete, I mean, single placed ones, okay, solitary ones. Apart from that, you may also see isogenous groups, okay, usually in twos. But Halin Colleges, you may see 3 or even 4, okay, I mean, cells in a group. Rarely do we see isogenous groups in Fibrocartilage. Okay, please get to know that we don't see that. And then for perichondrium, you've seen that in the case of Halin Colleges is present. Okay, elastic cartilage present, but in Fibrocartilage we don't have a perichondrium. Then in terms of location and function, yes, Halin Colleges will aid in some kind of sliding movement, ensuring friction-free movement at such joints. And they may serve as model for bone growth and endochondral bone formation. They will make the airway patent, especially in the trachea, the trachea rings over there. If you look at the elastic cartilage, they confer flexibility or elasticity to such organs that they find, such as, of course, the pinna of the external ear, yes, the external auditory meatus, okay, the epiglottis, these areas, flexibility. And then Fibrocartilage will provide that kind of cushioning, okay, strength, resistant tearing, and of course compression within, of course, intervertebral disc, menisci of the knee, and of course, pubic symphysis. Okay, so please get to know this kind of summary. We go to question number 4, and question number 4 says, which of the following is incorrect about cartilage histology? Now, option A says its chondrocytes reside in lacunae and are well hydrated. Yeah, that's a very true statement, that the chondrocytes, okay, or the mature cells of the cartilage will dwell in some places, okay, will be housed in what you call lacunae, okay, and they are well hydrated. That's a true statement. Option B says its ground substance contains sulfated proteoglycans. That's a very true statement. I've already told you that the sulfated proteoglycans are the aggregants, okay, chondroitin sulfate, dermatan sulfate, keratan sulfate. Yes, that's a very true statement. Option C says it is a special type of connective tissue being avascular and not innervated. Yes, I've already indicated that yes, the special type of connective tissue, it is avascular, lacking blood vessels, neither does it have nerve supply. Option D says perichondrium is made up of outer fibrous layer of dense irregular connective tissue and an inner cellular or chondrogenic layer. Although in adults, only the fibrous layer is present. Yeah, that's a very true statement. You get to know that, yes, in the juvenile perichondrium, what we find is that it's going to have an outer fibrous layer of dense irregular connective tissue, no problem, and an inner chondrogenic or cellular layer. This inner chondrogenic layer will be used in what we call appositional, cartilage root. And because it will be used at old age, what will happen is that you may not find the inner chondrogenic layer. It may be exhausted. Okay, increasing the girth of these kind of cartilages or the weight of these cartilages, yes, through what we call appositional cartilage root. So option E says Halin Colleges demonstrate both appositional and interstitial growth and therefore has quick regeneration ability. Yes, indeed, Halin College will have both appositional growth because having the perichondrium as well as, of course, interstitial growth. No problem. But the fact that it's going to cause it to regenerate, faster is a false statement, because colleges have very slow, regeneration ability, because in them they are avascular, they also are innervated. Not innervated. So this is a wrong statement, and therefore the correct answer, option E. Let's justify that. So there we are. If you look at colleges will be housed in what we call, lacunae. Okay, they will be housed in lacunae, and you can see that these ones, okay, these are about 4 cells lying in a single lacuna, okay, forming a cell nest. Okay, that's a Halin College. And then they also have what we call a perichondrium, having an inner cellular layer and an outer fibrous layer. This one is almost everything is becoming fibrotic, so to speak. Okay, so this is what we see in the adults. What will happen is that the inner chondrogenic layer will be exhausted, so that we find only the outer fibrous layer, because the inner chondrogenic layer will be utilized in what we call appositional growth of the cartilage. Okay, so that is what we have to know. But remember that it is the outer fibrous layer which is going to give the bone some kind of mechanical support, the cartilage some kind of mechanical support, as well as, of course, giving it some kind of nourishment, okay, and protection actually. So as I indicated, that cartilages represent a special type of connective tissue, just like bone, just like blood. Okay, so what we see is that it's going to have what we call this cartilage is having a perichondrium. Okay, you can see these cells, cellular layer. This is the inner cellular layer. Okay, it is this one which will actually differentiate, okay, to become what we call chondroblast, and of course eventually become chondrocyte, to add on, okay, to secrete, of course, the fibers to become eventual chondrocytes, okay, to increase the width or the girth of this cartilage. And then through mitotic activity by the cells in the cartilage proper, okay, being, of course, the chondrocytes, we are going to increase the length of this kind of cartilage, and that is by what we call interstitial bone growth. So there we are. I said that cartilages will show 2 kinds of bones in the perichondrium. Okay, the inner cellular layer of the perichondrium, the chondroblast will deposit, okay, will secrete what we call the fibers there to increase, the thickness or the width of what we call the cartilage. Then, if the cartilages are also undergoing mitotic activity, so that we can see those cell nests or the isogenous groups, okay, dividing to, of course, also hypertrophying, and of course giving rise to these kind of matrix, okay, secreting the matrix, okay, to increase the length of this kind of cartilage. That is what we call interstitial cartilage growth. Interstitial cartilage growth. So let's go to question number 5 and our last question. And the question says, which of the following cannot be true about cartilage histology? Now, option A says Halin Colleges have glassy appearance. Yeah, that's a very true statement. We already seen that. Option B says chondroclasts arise from mitotic activity of chondrocytes, the cells responsible for interstitial growth. Yes, indeed, that chondrocytes are needed for interstitial growth because they undergo mitotic activity to increase the length of these kind of cartilages. No problem. But what will happen is that chondroclasts do not arise from chondrocytes. Although we know that chondrocytes will arise from chondroblasts, differentiation of chondroblasts will give rise to chondrocytes. Chondroclasts are not formed from chondrocytes. Chondroclasts represent actually what we call the macrophage of what we call the cartilage. So it means that it's coming from the monocyte, okay, from the blood. Option C says it develops from connective tissue mesenchyme. Yeah, that's a very true statement. We know that cartilage, although it's a special type of connective tissue, all adult connective tissue types are coming from what we call the embryonic connective tissue being the mesenchymal connective tissue. That's a very true statement. Option D says histologically only cartilages have lacunae. Yeah, this is where the statement is wrong, because although yes, cartilages will have lacunae, chondrocytes will dwell in lacunae, no problem. It is not only cartilage cells which will have lacunae, but also the osteocytes, the bone cells, mature bone cells will also dwell in lacunae. So this is the wrong statement, therefore the correct answer. Option E says cartilages are pliable since they have semi-solid ground substance in the extracellular matrix. Yes, unlike bone where it's having a solid matrix, in cartilages it's having a semi-solid ground substance, making it that kind of pliable. Okay, that's a true statement. And option F says cartilages represent a component of the skeletal tissue and may form the structural support for the nose and the ears. It's a very true statement, because yes, we know that the skeletal tissue is made up of bone and of course cartilage. And then we've seen that in the nose, the other cartilages in the nasal septum of the nose, cartilages are doing that in the ears. Yes, that's a very true statement. So let's justify the answer. So as we said that yes, we have chondrocytes in dwelling in lacunae will undergo mitotic activity. They may also hypertrophy, okay, to go through this bone growth to secrete the matrix, add on to it to increase the length, and that's what we call interstitial growth of bone. But these chondrocytes will not give rise to what we call chondroclasts, because chondroclasts, they are the resorbing cells of the cartilage. Okay, we have the three main cell types over there. We have chondroblasts, upon secreting the matrix, okay, to become entrapped, okay, to dwell in the lacunae, okay, and therefore become what we call chondrocytes. But chondroclasts will not arise from chondrocytes. They will come from the blood, from the bone marrow, and of course from the blood as monocytes. Okay, so that is what we see. Yes, not only cartilages will have what we call lacunae, but also the osteocytes of bone, okay, who dwell in lacunae. So these empty areas over here, yes, they represent what we call the lacunae, where osteocytes will dwell. So having seen this, let's look at some distinction between chondroblasts and chondrocytes. So remember that yes, chondroblasts will be actively involved in the secretion of the extracellular matrix. Okay, but what will happen is that in terms of chondrocytes, they will maintain the matrix, so they will be secreted, but they may not be active involved in that. Then of course, chondroblasts represent a progenitor cell of from the mesenchyme. Okay, and therefore what will happen is that they will give rise to, of course, chondrocytes. It means that chondroblasts are immature, while chondrocytes are mature cells. Okay, so that is what we see. We already said they will secrete the extracellular matrix, and this one will maintain. Then, of course, in the case of chondroblasts, the chondroblasts which are located in the what we call the perichondrium, okay, the inner cellular layer of the perichondrium, they will be involved in what we call appositional bone growth to increase, of course, the weight or the girth of the cartilage. While, of course, the chondrocytes dwelling in the lacunae will undergo mitotic activity, okay, may also hypertrophy to secrete the matrix, maintain it, and that will be involved in what we call interstitial bone growth, increasing the length of the cartilage. But I've already told you that chondroclasts will be resorbing, okay, monocytes of the cartilage. Sorry, macrophage of the cartilage, chondroclasts. So we've seen the three kinds of cartilage in the questions that we've looked at. We've seen that of Halin Colleges, being very common, very common type, principally having collagen type 2, although may have collagen type 6, type 9, type 10, of course, type 11. Elastic cartilage, having although collagen type 2, it may also have, it's actually having elastic fiber, a lot of them. Then Fibrocartilage, apart from having collagen type 2, it is also having a lot of collagen type 1 in its matrix. So then, what are the functions of these cartilages that we've seen? Yes, I mean, one of them is that it's forming the structural support of the nose and the ears. Yes, that's true. It forms, I mean, cartilages form the major components of the airway, including that of the bronchi, the trachea. Yes, to make the trachea patent or open. And they also form structural components of joints, helping to reduce friction, deepening articular surfaces to minimize, occurrences of dislocations. They form major components of the fetal skeleton. That's true. They may serve as models or templates for endochondral bone formation. That is a very true statement. I mean, that's a very true fact that we've given you. So we justified, all these options of ours. I'm very grateful for your time this evening. If you've not subscribed to my channel, please do so, so that in future videos, which are going to be very important to you when they come, yes, you won't miss out. Have a very good night, and may God richly bless you.